it's unbelievable. Thank you, guys. Can you hear me well? Yeah. Okay, thank you. You know, like I feel like a VC rock star today. And like in 2018, after all the shitty things that VCs did, feels good. So let's see what I'm here to talk about today. But first, you know, I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Niko Bonatsos. I'm an MD with General Catalyst Partners. We're a venture capital firm that has about $4 billion under management, nationwide presence, offices in New York, Boston, and here in Silicon Valley, of course. And we're in the business of partnering with the world's most ridiculously ambitious founders who are building category-defining companies. We don't care how they look like, what they did before, where they went to school. We don't care about any of that stuff. Oh, this better? All right. So basically, I was saying that our firm, GC, is in the business of partnering with the world's most ridiculously ambitious founders who are building category-defining businesses. And we don't care where they went to school, how they look like, what they did before. We care about none of these, but are they incredibly, incredibly ambitious, and are they learning animals? So that if a few years down the road, we put them in touch with Fortune 500 CEO in their same market, and that person gets intimidated, these are the people we want to get in business with. So basically, what I'm going to talk about is what VCs want to hear about. And it's a little bit like a primer for you to raise venture capital funding, assuming that this is what you guys want to do. And judging from the number of you here in this room, probably some of you may be interested in the topic. If you're here for another presentation, that's not going to be it. So what do we really want to hear from you? And it's in essence a conversation about what VCs are motivated by. So we as venture capitalists are very, very risk averse. So that's something that you need to understand. You may think that want to get behind really bold technologies. You may think that we're really excited about super interesting products, but in fact, we want to invest in really safe bets. And we're also motivated by greed and fear, as is the case with all investors. And when it comes to greed, it's all about making a shitload of money for limited partners and ourselves. When it's about fear, is the fear of missing out on something big. And actually, it's even worse than greed. Because if your friends are getting richer, your competitors getting richer, you're left behind, it's like, oh my God, what did I do wrong with my life? So let's start with that. So let's start with what does it mean to play it safe? So your company may be really risky. The market that you're going after may not exist yet. The product may be really shitty, but you as an individual have to be a safe bet. So that's what it really means, that as a founder, you can totally be a safe bet for the investor and that person's firm to get behind you. And how can you be a safe bet? I'm going to teach you how to be a safe bet. So the first thing you need to do is to be a notable founder. So who is a notable founder? Let's define that. A notable founder is somebody that everybody in the world knows, that they've done some really interesting things. Sometimes they've returned capital for their investors. Other times they are domain experts in a space, or other times they have the press be truly, truly obsessed with what they're going to be doing next. Unfortunately, for most of the first-time founders, they're not notable founders on day one. But the good news is they can actually, become notable founders by association. And as somebody, who's in the business of partnering with first-time founders, I've done this a number of times before, I can show you how to totally do that. So step number one is if you're not a notable founder, no problem. That's not, any, and doesn't subtract, anything from your value. But you can totally recruit a notable co-founder. So if you're somebody who is just getting started to build, let's say, an autonomous vehicles, startup, probably, you will need to have co-founders. You won't be able to do this alone. So can you find somebody who was a member of the autonomous vehicle team at Tesla? Can you find somebody who before was working for a number of years the Apple defunct initiative for autonomous vehicles to make that person your co-founder. So if you can do that, you can dramatically de-risk you being a safe bet for a venture capitalist to invest in you. And what would be going on in the head of the venture capitalist? It's going to be like, oh, wow, this is a young person or a first-time founder. These two could go together. But clearly, she or he can convince somebody who is domain expert, notable person in their field, to join them on this very risky journey. So when I do the mental, checklist, can this person recruit really high-quality people? When you've recruited somebody notable in your space, it's like, oh my God, unbelievable success. So number 2 of what makes you a notable founder is other previous investors, angel investors or VCs who have backed you for your company. So we as VCs, we constantly are dying to see validation of anything that we're thinking about. And it's like as simple and as ridiculously sounding as that. So if you have angels who are well known, who have a good track record, who've already invested in you, or if you have other VCs that we are dying to be in business with, this is by association going to make you a notable founder. Number 3 is surrounding yourselves with experts. And this could be advisors, this could be board members. So as venture capitalists, what we want is to be very lazy. Like whenever you invest in a company, we don't want to be spending any time afterwards at the board meetings other than walking in and learning. So if you have an advisor who is an absolute expert in that market, or if you have a board member who was before CEO or senior executive in a similar company of the previous generation, it's making life really easy for yourselves and then the VCs that would be invested in you before. So if you're somebody who's just getting started, surrounding yourselves with high quality experts is going to help you with fundraising very, very easily. So I recently invested in a company, seed stage company, about a year ago that they're in the broader co-living space. They're building a community of shared homes. And they've had a number of people from really notable companies like the Ubers, the Airbnbs of the world, or the Yelps of the world, who are dying to spend time with the founder, who is a young founder. She's a young founder, but very strong personality. Not because she's a domain expert or she truly knows what she's doing, but because they very much like spending time with her. And this company went out to do a fundraise in the beginning of January. It happened in 10 days. And literally, it happened in 10 days because all of these people, her advisors and the experts who are helping her with the company building piece, have been pinging their friendly VCs, and they've been saying, wow, she's a really interesting young founder. Reminds me of what I did back in the day when I was at Yelp or when I was getting started at Uber. So having an expert on your side who can give a strong reference to VCs and then help you with the company building along the way can dramatically impact your future fundraising ability. So the fourth thing is your ability to network. So as first-time founders, or very often here in Silicon Valley, as outsiders to this ecosystem, having an ability to network can help you in many, many ways. Can help you in order to find investors, find team members, find potential advisors, and having like a sick network is like building your own mafia. These are the people who will care about you. They could be other CEOs, they could be angel investors who are going to be providing you with advice or promoting the shit out of you to their friendly VCs whenever you guys are ever thinking about doing another financing. And as a VC, honestly, we're in the business of acquiring other people's networks. So if we come across an individual that we see at some of the right, parties, or most importantly, see that individual hang out with the right people, we're going to be like, oh my God, that person is the full package, is just getting started in a new industry, trying to disrupt it, but clearly she or he has a lot of amazing people in their network who could probably offer that person with an unfair advantage. Because what's going on in our head is, will that person be able to recruit? Will that person be able to promote their business to PR people and writers? Would that person be able to raise a lot more money down the road? So if you have a high quality network, doesn't matter what you did before, it's gonna help you a long way. So networking ability is a fantastic asset when you're starting a company. Another thing that makes you a notable founder is your ability to have stories written about yourself in the press. And all VCs truly love when they see their companies being in the press. It makes them, sound really smart. It offers them validation when they're talking to other investors about recent investments they've made. It makes life easier in many ways. When you have stories about you in the press, makes life easier with future recruiting opportunities, with future fundraising opportunities, with future BD opportunities. So if you're just getting started, but you have some friends in the industry as writers or PR people who can help you quickly spin up a story, can make life really easier. You can be branded as notable at no time. This is what has happened like with the YC companies. A lot of them, for the longest time, one of the things that they like the most about going through YC is that they get a TechCrunch article, they get a mini press release, and then from there, momentum starts building up. And most of these people, frankly, are not even, from Silicon Valley. They're just getting started. Looks like we are stuck a little bit here. Can you move the next slide? Because I can't move it here with a click here. Hey guys, can you move this to the next slide? It looks like, it's kind of stuck. All right. Up. Yeah, here you go. So I told you a few things about what can make you a notable founder, but frankly, the one that's the most important and the hardest one of all is having momentum. So if you have momentum, if you have growth, everything else that I told you, completely ignore it. Like if you have something that shows that there's great growth, you're making money, and just put it in a couple of sentences, and you send out an email to prospective investors, and they're going to be truly, truly in love of that. They won't even be paying attention to what you're going to be saying at the meeting. Like growth cures almost all the other uncertainties or issues, that founders have. So, in other words, what makes you as a safe bet for VC to invest in is being notable founder. So if you are a notable founder, you can find others who are notable to be your partners in crime. You can totally have at least one tier 1 angel get behind you. Like honestly, if you can't get one angel to get behind you, how would you be aspiring to raise a lot more capital down the road? For sure, you can find some expert advisors who are eager to get in business with you. And a lot of this, people who are experts, have been around the block, they're older, frankly, they're dying to be relevant. They're totally dying to be relevant. Because if you're an older person, you don't want to be spending your whole time at the country club, hanging out with other people who are retired. You want to still feel that you're active, you're in the game, and a first-time founder doing something disruptive in their industry could be their ticket to paradise. Could be literally, their ticket to making them relevant again. Having a sick network, who doesn't want to have like really cool friends who are promoting them, who are able to help them monetize and raise more capital. So by virtue of being a founder, if you're capable of being magnetic, this can help you with future fundraisers quite a bit. Media stuff, it's harder for some people, especially for the techies, for the ones who are introverted, it's a little bit harder, but you can find high quality PR talent here in the Bay Area who can truly network you up, and most importantly, come up with a strategy for you in order to do a good press campaign. And the last thing, momentum. Like honestly, if you know your shit really well, you know your business, You have either by accident or because you're really good growth hackers have figured out how to grow, just double, triple down on that. I'm sure you know this is something that you're not hearing for the first time, but momentum is what makes founders be truly desirable as safe bets by venture capitalists. Like, we tend to discount everything else. Like, normally it's like a list, you know, of things we'd like to do. Can that person recruit? Can that person raise money? Is that person amazing when it comes to referenceability? Is this a company that's getting started at the right time? But if you have insane momentum, it's like, oh my God, I forgot about all these things. What just happened to me, you know? It's the same person. So the real motivations for a VC are fear and greed. These are the real motivations. So you constantly have to have them in mind when you're pitching people. Because what we are in the business of is to make a return for limited partners and ourselves. So when it comes, you know, to greed, everybody wants to go after investing $10 billion plus companies. You know, doing unicorns in 2018, yeah, everybody has done it. Like, if you don't have a couple of unicorns in your portfolio, what are you doing as a VC? You know, you have to retire. You got to move on. But everybody now is in the business of finding the $10 billion plus kind of companies. So what would get, you know, our greed emotions going? So are you going after a massive market? Is this like a huge market opportunity, one of the biggest ones of all time? If you're not, tough luck. You know, VCs, we don't like, you know, big markets. So small market. So if you just have one small market, just try to make a strong case that the adjacent markets over time are going to be the ones that you're going to conquer. Number two, is this a hot space? So now, what are the hottest, you know, spaces that are getting funded at no time? Are you in crypto, like blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that good stuff? If you are, you know, VCs really are dying, you know, to hear from you. So I don't know if you're in any of the hot markets, but if you are and you know what you would do with capital, out and raise right now. Like, you know, I don't even know why you're in this room, you know. You should be at pitch meetings at the moment. If you're not at a hot market, what can you do to position yourself so that you can be part of the hot market that's perceived right now, or in a few months, your market, you know, is truly going to be a hot one. And by the way, you know, sometimes this happens because a big company acquires a small company, and out of sudden, that whole space is being perceived as hot. And then when it comes, you know, to the greed piece, momentum and growth. So are there any other massive companies in your space that are doing really, really well, but for whatever reason, they can't figure it out all, or are there any other startups in your space that are doing really well? And you can walk into a meeting with a VC and make a case. This is a startup that's doing well, but the team, they have these perceptions. We can do much better because we know it much better than them. Like, can you make a case that your fast-growing competitors are extremely weak? If you can do that, it can be very, very, very convincing, because it's going to get me going. Oh my God, you know, I missed out in that competitor, but I just heard how this team is going to. And I've seen, you know, that this is a market that's opening up right now in front of me. So the next emotion is around, sorry, you know, the clicker's not working. It's around, you know, fear of missing out. So we're all, you know, very fearful of that. Like, when I'm hanging out with other VCs, it's like, who did you see this week? Who is raising Series A's? Who is raising Series B's? Who did what? And it's like, oh my God, did I meet that person? Did I not meet that person? What happened? Why didn't we see them? Or, oh, this company emailed me. I told them I'm going to meet them in 2 weeks, but now I'm hearing that 5 other firms are chatting with them. And it's like, oh my God, I should prioritize this meeting over everything else. So getting, you know, that FOMO to could truly, you know, help as well. So if you have some advisors who are connected in the ecosystem, who could do, you know, all these back channel, you know, references, and can tell their friendly VCs that oh, this is a company that has a lot of momentum, could truly, 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 make a huge difference. Like sometimes, in a lot of partnerships, some of the senior partners don't even care, about what their team is thinking. They're just looking for external validation from other good, firms. So this makes life, much easier. So if you're fundraising, probably a good idea not to just talk to one firm, talk to more than one. The moment you have some momentum with one of them, let everybody else know. And then out of a sudden, the meetings are going to be scheduled much more easily and much faster. It's unbelievable, how lemmings, or how much like lemmings, we behave at times. It's like unbelievable to me. And as I said to you, the worst thing that can happen to a firm is to miss out an opportunity that all their competitors made a lot of money on. Especially if it's firms that are perceived as not high quality. It's like, oh my God, what did we just do wrong? How come? And they got it right, and they made so much money, and we think of ourselves so highly, and we couldn't get a piece of that. Like, what's wrong with us? Really, that's what's going on. And like, this is the emotion that gets VCs out of their seats immediately to go and make a deal. So with that, I'd like to open it if you guys have one or two questions, and we can close it from there.
So actually, Niko, I have a question as I was hearing everything, and due for time, I think it's a lot of a question that a lot of people have. What is exciting you right now?
Yeah, totally. So what's exciting me right now is a couple of the hot stuff. So really eager to invest in picks and shovels kind of companies in the crypto space that are trying to rebuild the financial ecosystem. Because in my mind, the crypto world is rewriting how software gets delivered. And then on the future of media front, I'm very eager to meet with really strong native thinkers in AR and VR. Everything else is more of the same.
Got it. So AR, VR, and crypto technologies.
That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Niko. Let's hear it for Niko.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.